6 right now tonight on the WHAS11 19. A special tracking device on stolen copper leads Louisville Metro Police right to their latest arrests.
Working together, we were able to use some investigative techniques and catch some people in the act.
Tonight, the crackdown on the theft of the wires that help power our interstate lights and telecommunications takes an entirely new twist. And then, Paoli, Indiana's water delivery system getting updates. It'll mean boil your water for possibly several days.
We're lucky that we got it ahead of time because most of the time it's kind of quick notice.
Plus, WHAS 11 News getting action after a Metro Council member sees our story about the elderly woman who had her house stolen in a scam. 2 more victims today coming forward. It happened to them. Right now on the WHAS 11 19. And as we come on the air right here tonight at 11 o'clock, we are bringing you a live view of Washington, D.C., of course, the White House there. No movement on the government shutdown today because lawmakers were not on Capitol Hill. But the U.S. Senate is expected to vote again tomorrow, Friday, on both the Democratic funding bill that includes health care provisions and the short-term government funding bill. Bringing you up to date on the very latest at this hour. The government shutdown now into day number 2. Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us tonight. I'm Doug Proffitt. The Trump administration has threatened mass layoffs of some federal workers during the shutdown. The president posting that it's time to cut, quote, the deadwood.
I'm allowed to cut things that should have never been approved in the first place, and I will probably do that.
This is day 2 of Donald Trump's shutdown, but it's day 256 of the chaos that the Trump presidency has unleashed on the American people.
Senate Majority Leader John Thune today saying even though they'll be in session tomorrow, it's unlikely, despite the crisis, that they will convene over the weekend if they don't get things settled. 2 Kentucky congressmen, by the way, responded to the shutdown by saying they don't want to be paid anymore. Louisville Democrat Morgan McGarvey and Republican Kentucky Congressman Brett Guthrie asking for their paychecks to be withheld until an agreement is reached between both parties. But other members of Congress, by the way, both Democrats and Republicans, have also refused to take their paychecks. Other top stories happening for you tonight. 2 people are in the hospital after a fire in Floyd's Knobs, Indiana. Floyd's Knobs firefighters released these photos tonight. They say a fire was caused by gasoline igniting while the people were fueling a zero-turn lawnmower. Damage was caused to the lawnmower and that nearby barn you just saw there. 2 people were taken to the hospital, 1 person to University Hospital in Louisville with burns to the face and upper body. Another patient was taken to Baptist Health Floyd for a medical emergency unrelated to the fire. Brand new here at 11 o'clock. You know, we hear a lot about this from you. You are tired of driving on pitch black interstates across Louisville because the lights have been knocked out by copper wire thieves. So tonight we have a new twist. WHAS 1119's Clarice Shaley and photojournalist Levi Hammer learned that a tracking device located on some wire stolen over the weekend led police right to their suspects.
The people that are stealing the copper are really affecting a lot of people's lives.
It's a big problem across Louisville, stolen copper wiring. On Saturday, LMPD arrested these 2 men, Daniel Bentley and Robert Kelly, allegedly stealing wire at I-65 and the Gene Snyder Freeway. Louisville Metro Deputy Mayor David James.
Working together, we were able to use some investigative techniques and catch some people in the act.
The arrest citation says officers worked with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet and actually tracked the wire, following a tracking device that was with the wire. This led them right to the men as police say the wire was actively being stripped. Police say 1 man told them he took the wire that was by the guardrail and planned to scrap it. Wires to these lights have been tampered with, and it's a pattern seen across the metro. But Deputy Mayor David James says the city's task force is making progress. It's been almost a year since the Critical Infrastructure Task Force was created, focused on the problem. In some cases, people have mistaken internet fiber lines for copper wires.
It affects how people are able to work every day, It affects their safety. They can't call 911 if there's an emergency.
As part of the task force, an ordinance was passed putting stricter punishments on copper theft and more regulations on scrap metal businesses.
We've done a lot with the task force in less than a year. And so if we could do this much in less than a year, I think we'll do a lot more next year.
The deputy mayor looking forward to stopping more copper thieves. With photojournalist Levi Hammer, Clarice Shaley, the WHAS 11 night team on your side.
By the way, stolen wire from communications boxes or utility poles is now a misdemeanor and can either be a $500 fine or a year in jail. Scrap metal businesses are also now required to take pictures of people selling the materials and their driver's license to help out police just in case. Right now, new at 11 o'clock, a former Scott County, Indiana sheriff and longtime associate of the former Clark County, Indiana sheriff Jamie Knoll is likely to plead guilty to tax evasion. Kenneth Eubanks is charged with one level 6 felony for allegedly taking over $140,000 from his godmother, who suffered from dementia from 2019 to 2022. He did not declare it as income on his taxes. Court records say his wife was also involved in this, but she has not been charged. Today, Eubanks and his attorney filed a motion to set a change of plea and a sentencing hearing. Eubanks pleaded not guilty on April 22nd. An official date for a new hearing has not yet been set, but Eubanks does have a pretrial conference coming up for December 18th. Major new developments today on the story WHAS 11 News first broke. The man accused of stealing an elderly woman's home in West Louisville through a fraudulent deed transfer has turned himself in. Also today, more victims from similar schemes came forward. WHAS 11 journalists Ian Hardwitt, C.J. Daniels, and photojournalist Connie Offit tell us tonight some scammers tried saying that they inherited the homes from dead people, but they were very much alive.
Aunt Dorothy is not dead.
89-year-old Dorothy Tarpon didn't live in her home when ownership was stolen from her. A quitclaim deed, usually reserved for family transfers, was fraudulently filed.
My aunt's signature was forged from a past document, and within days, her home was no longer in her name.
Do y'all know y'all still in this house from an old lady?
In this video Ashley took, that's Russell Cheatham, caught moving items out of the aunt's house. He turned himself in and was charged with forging the deed and identity theft.
Clothing, her appliances, her furniture, he took it all. That is an empty house.
Niece Tina Mack wants more charges.
I'm going to be at every court date, Russell. Every court date, Russell. I'm going to file another police report, Russell.
Under a separate scheme, Patricia Wright's name was lifted off the deed from a house 6 blocks down. She bought it in 1992.
At that time, I had just come back from Desert Storm.
She lost precious photos and military service records. Her home gutted after her name was lifted.
I felt just so violated that they had come and determined that what belonged to me was of no value.
Here's an example of a quitclaim deed. Another victim, Keisha Lindsay, says it took 2 signatures and $1 to take away her property.
So Kentucky really needs to tighten up, and I think some changes need to be made in place. You know, not being able to just let a notary sign a quitclaim deed. It needs to be done at the presence of both parties.
Now, Councilwoman Tammy Hawkins has called for tighter deed restrictions.
Several people have said, we just let it go. You've had other people that said it was too costly. You know, to have to pay to get your property back. It's unheard of.
But now, people have heard. In Louisville, Ian Hardwitt, WHAS 11, on your side.
Again, all this getting going right there today thanks to our very first report on this. Now, Hawkins says there should be tighter restrictions on deed transfers. The responsibility of the Jefferson County Clerk, that office, of course, as you know, has been without a leader since the death of longtime clerk Bobby Holtzclaw. Now, Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg has a news conference set for tomorrow to make, quote, leadership announcements, which could include an interim clerk. New tonight, a journalism student has been found guilty for 1 out of 4 misdemeanor charges today. Lucas Griffith was interning with a publication called Cincinnati City Beat in northern Kentucky. He and others were arrested while covering an ICE protest in northern Kentucky this summer. Police commanded him and others to leave, but they failed to do so. Today, a jury found Griffith guilty for failing to disperse. Covington, Kentucky police previously charged him with rioting, but that charge was dropped. Today, ACLU of Kentucky sharing in a statement, quote, "The Covington Police Department arrested and charged our client despite being made aware that he was a journalist," end quote. And developing news out of Woodford County in central Kentucky. A random killing that shocked us all around here 10 years ago. A man sentenced for killing a 6-year-old boy and gravely injuring his family has been now released from prison. Back in 2018, Ronald Zantis was found not guilty of murder by reason of insanity and guilty but mentally ill on assault charges. Investigators say Zantis broke into a Versailles, Kentucky home in December of 2015 and killed 6-year-old Logan Tipton. Detectives found that it was a random killing. Zantis driving from Indianapolis and then getting off the interstate and breaking into the Tipton home while the family was sleeping. He also attacked Tipton's father and siblings, but they survived. WHAS11 News was there in 2015 when hundreds of people honored Logan's life at the community stadium in Versailles. Now, according to court records, Zantis was released yesterday after serving less than 7 years of his 20-year sentence. Records show that he's out on supervised parole, but that will end in June of 2026. Now moving to another story, brand new on the WHAS11 night team here at 11. A heads up for residents in Paoli, Indiana. You'll soon experience possibly 2 to 4 days under a water boil advisory. Patoka Lake Regional Water says it's going to conduct preventative maintenance. WHAS11 night team's Jose Alonso is in Orange County tonight, talking with a local restaurant about how they're preparing.
In less than 2 weeks, residents and businesses in Paoli, Indiana will face a 2 to 4 day challenge starting October 14th. And it's set to impact local restaurants.
A boil water advisory. It's kind of like a race to the clock with everybody else in the business. We have to rush to Walmart. We have to try to find ice. We have to go to different stores around town to try to get the proper product.
General Manager Chrissy Evans says the Super Burger has been serving customers since 1974. She says shutting down the fountain drink machine and working around the water boil advisory can become pricey.
The last time we had a boil water effect, I think we spent close to $300 between soda, lemonade, water, ice, and everything in general, and it was a 48-hour boil water effect.
The town's water provider, Patoka Lake Regional Water and Sewer District, says this advisory is for a long-term improvement between the town's water source, Patoka Lake, and them. In a statement, they say, quote, "We have 2 parallel lines feeding the town of Paoli. Currently, there is no way to isolate those lines, so an outage leak on either line would likely result in an emergency boil advisory being placed on the town of Paoli. The work is planned to install a valve that will allow us to isolate these lines and hopefully avoid an emergency boil advisory in the future." Basically, this installment is planned preventative maintenance between the town of Paoli and Patoka Lake Regional Water. For the team at the Super Burger, this sounds like a solid plan because it takes a lot to consistently endure these advisories.
Dishes and stuff, we have to make sure we're making sure our temperatures are at the proper everything and the sanitizer is distributing properly. Hand washing, we have to make the girls use, the extremely hot water, and sometimes that's rough and painful.
It'll be a tough time, but Evans says they'll be prepared to continue their services. She hopes this means fewer interruptions between the water from Patoka Lake and their burger joint. In Paoli, Jose Alonso, WHAS11 night team on your side.
Patoka Lake Regional Water also mentioned that the 2 to 4 day period is so officials can allow the proper time to test the water samples. Once the water is up to the standards again, they will notify residents in Paoli when it is safe to use again. Well, getting ready for one of Louisville's great art celebrations tucked in between the historic mansions of St. James Court. The 69th St. James Court Art Show opens in the morning. But first, all new tonight, the Jack-O-Lantern Spectacular is now up and running in Iroquois Park. Look what we found tonight when the night team headed to South Louisville.
And our warm and dry weather pattern will take us into the first weekend of October, but we have some cooler weather on the way next week along with rain chances. We'll take a full look at our 7-day forecast coming up after the break. Here's a check of today's Kentucky Lottery jackpots. Mega Millions